Yeah, she said, hold on. She said, call her, please. On Skype. Oh, she said it's not ringing through for her. Let me try. And yeah. Hmm. Hmm. Now, let's see. She's typing a text. She's restarting her whole computer. I know. All right. She said her computer's loading up.
Oh my gosh. Oh, what the heck? Oh my gosh. I was still talking. I thought Angie, we lost her. I was trying to type you. Let me pull up my info real quick. I don't know what the heck just happened. Oh man. Okay, that's cool.
Okay.
Okay. Um, Hold on one second. I gotta pull up the sheet again. Oh my goodness. Okay. And then
And we can just right.
Okay, what was the last thing, Angie? I
So
think, hold on, it's pulling my stuff up right now. Go ahead, honey.
I think you were talking to, I can't remember. Shoot.
I'll just go with, um, hold on here. Okay, I'm
Will
pulling up.
they be able to edit that as okay?
Yeah. Okay, so I have this back up. Perfect. Close that out. Okay. Wow, that was
I feel like
crazy.
you were talking about something regarding men.
Yes.
Okay.
Um, okay, so let's do this. It's all good. We're still gonna finish on time. Okay. Um, all right. Well, I'll just start talking about men and we'll figure it out. We got how many minutes left, you said? Okay. We'll get her done.
Thanks.
Yes. Yes, and one of the things, like we had mentioned earlier, that Angie and I had both brought up is the important part about men understanding this, because it men are able to communicate with us better, give us the space when we need it a little bit more, and so many other things if we're open to sharing about this. So, again, stay tuned for that last episode in the series. It's going to be part 4. Very important, not only for you women to listen to help support the men in your life, but also if you have men in your life, tune them into it. Let them listen to the show so that you can start this conversation if it is something new for you. Would you agree to that, Angie?
Yes, absolutely. I think that last episode will be for really helpful for both men and women to listen to, as well as all 4 of these.
Definitely. And I want to give a little bit of my own personal story with this, and you can feel free to share yours as well if you
Hmm.
choose. And it's just about when I first started learning about my cycle. And it came through actually reading a book, and I know we'll talk about in our the third part of our series about how to get to know it. But what I really want to make explicitly clear, I guess, is that again, it wasn't something I ever thought I would be talking about periods with my girlfriends, understanding myself. But when I took the time to actually track it, and much like Angie was saying at the beginning of the show, how we don't feel as off, or I would even say crazy sometimes, that why the heck are the words not coming to me right now? Or why do I just seem, oh, everybody gets more hungry right before our period happens? We are all a little bit different. And I started to notice things that were happening time and time again. And it really did lift a weight off of me in a sense, because it was like, oh, yeah, this was the same thing that was happening last month around this time. So there is, again, just so much power in it. I'm probably going to use that word a lot during this 4-part series, but it's true. There is just so much power in giving yourself the opportunity to know yourself at an even more intimate, deeper level.
Oh, I can just 100% agree again. And it really has felt like that weight lifted off. And I can remember when I first realized that there was something more to our periods than just you're on it or you're off it, and then that they're a nuisance, which is not the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it was actually in a conversation we were having probably a couple years ago. And I was just judging myself so hard because I felt so off. And it was that case, like it felt like I couldn't speak eloquently or almost at all. And you had asked me about where I was in my cycle, and I didn't know how to answer that question. And when I started reading one of the books that we'll talk about in part 3 again, I was literally crying over the pages because it just was speaking to
Yeah.
me so much, and that there was nothing wrong with me, that this was cyclical and natural, and a beautiful part of being a woman when you understand it and can begin to plan around it in loving ways and really optimize on the different energies.
Yeah. And I would say, the other thing to be aware of is to be easy on yourself, to give yourself a little bit of a break, whether it's you start tracking your cycle and then maybe you move away from it for a couple of days or something comes up. Um, have a little bit of compassion and grace towards yourself because it is new territory for so many women. And if we just lean into it a little bit and try to understand ourselves better a little bit and be okay with having a maybe uncomfortable conversation with your girlfriend about it and just lean into that a little bit, it opens up so much. I don't remember when I had first asked you about that. It's funny you brought that up because I'm like, was I the first one to bring this up? It must have been when I really started studying it, and then even I worked with your sister for a little while as well, and how amazing it was to see her eyes open to it and your
Yeah.
eyes open so much. It's a really cool thing to learn for yourselves and to share with your girlfriends and yes, the men in your life.
Yes. Yes. And that's another reason why this is so important is because it's fun. It's actually really fun and exciting. I want everyone who's listening to go about this in both a feminine and a masculine way, in that in the feminine way, you're getting to know your cycle and understanding there's no set destination. Every
Yeah.
single month you get to blossom a little more in your understanding and in your practices, whatever you might choose to do around your cycle. And in the masculine way of that kind of learning the rational things behind it, understanding what's going on for you, and that there are these four phases and what the four phases tend to bring. So
Hmm.
kind of having both, and we'll talk about in part three tracking your cycle. So that's bringing a little bit of that structure, which is a little masculine, and knowing that you can float through this stuff. You don't have
Yes.
to go crazy all in. What I've found is that as I've been going on this journey really for the past, I would think 2 years about, it's been, I've moved in and out of it in different ways, and it is wildly amazing how every single month I understand it on a deeper level. It feels like it's like you see the tip of the iceberg. Maybe this is the tip of the iceberg for it, and then you just keep getting to explore how far it goes underneath. And just for example, this cycle that I'm just coming to the end of was the first time I realized that I still had heavy judgments on experiencing lower levels of energy, and it was just
Mm-hmm.
really cool to see that and bring some light and love to it. And that's after 2 years. So there's just constant things that we get to discover. And the nature of women is that we're evolving. We're these very evolutionary creatures. And so it's going to be always something you can learn. There really is no end destination. It's more of just a blossoming and an unfolding.
I love that. I love what you said there. And it's so incredibly true. And I know we only have just a little bit of time left here, but I do want to give this analogy, which I learned from one of my coaches, and you worked with that individual too, but it was really good talking about the masculine and feminine because they talk about the structure, and the structure being like if you think of a water bottle, that container, and the feminine is flowing and moving inside of it. So understanding your cycle even a little bit more to have that